I feel like a lot of people don't realize that you do have this healer side to you that I actually wasn't aware of. We're all healers in our own ways. We're all artists in our own ways. But I was shook, honestly, when we sat down and we had this session where you had so much come through you that spoke so deeply to me. Does when you're creating a custom piece, do you have those sessions with clients?
Sometimes, yeah. So I offer readings, and the reading is its own standalone offering as an intuitive session. So we talk about whatever's present, and I share what comes through, whether that's stone rituals, it might be a plant, it might be a guide. But there's also the invitation that we're wanting to create a piece of adornment to support that energetic. We can really tailor the metals and the stones and the intention to what each person is moving through. And then it could even just be like sometimes I'll do custom work where someone just writes me a few lines about what's present. And I have my own processes that I move through with that. So sometimes if someone will write me like 3 sentences of what they're moving through, I might even go like an analytical route and like
Mm.
circle the 3 keywords that feel most present or pinging to me the most out of what they wrote. And then I'll look up the etymology of those words and follow this like detective train onto what's this deeper root and what they're calling for. But then there's also just the intuitive side, which oftentimes I'll sit for a few minutes and I might have a few follow up questions. Sometimes it's helpful to know someone's astrology. Sometimes it's their human design. Sometimes it's just asking them to send me a song that feels like the energy of what it is they're calling in. So that can be unique each time. But often I do experience quite a lot of other side information. So it comes through pretty quickly for me. I receive a lot of visuals and clairaudience with the stones. So more often than not, it's actually me needing to filter down to the core essence of what's coming through.
Wow. Is anything collectively coming up right now for 2025 from a stone perspective, an animal perspective, symbols, like anything that you feel would be supportive for us to just connect to a little bit more intentionally?
Yeah, I think that on a collective level right now, I think that we're all needing to get comfortable being in the unknown. And we've been in that for a while, but I feel like we're reaching a little bit of a boiling point with it. And so the stones that I've been working with a lot are stones that help us surrender and flow. Moonstone is a really beautiful one for this. Remembering to be a child of the universe, not the mother of the universe. I think sometimes we want to control how things go. And like when things start to feel out of control in the collective, we like micro control our lives, but that just makes us feel this friction. And it's actually when we can get ourselves into a state of grace that we can remember that the phases of the moon, like sometimes it's a full moon, sometimes it's a dark moon. So we have to just be okay with energy changing and moving each day and meeting those challenges with as much grace as possible. And I think that on the collective level for 2025, it's like it feels actually pretty fiery. It feels really bold. Something that I'm thinking about personally is how to follow longing, how to follow desire as a path to joy and liberation. I think something that is important for each of us is like to remember that no matter what's happening on the global scale, that if we can cultivate joy in our own lives, that reverberates into our communities. And we can't underestimate the impact that cultivating our own peace and joy can have collectively. And that doesn't mean not to take action and to donate to places that you feel strongly about, to volunteer, to use your voice to speak out. But it means that we all have the right to joy first in our own lives. And so some of those stones that for me have been coming forward for like spring, summer of next year are the red stones, like the stones of courage, the ones that help us to be bold and to go for what we want, to move towards a space of creating the world that we want to be in. And like ruby and garnet, stones that work with our blood, like our vitality. So that's what I'm feeling right now.
Ruby's actually my birthstones, and I haven't honestly worn it in a really long time. I feel like I've been wearing these clearer stones, these like the moonstone, working a lot with moonstone, working a lot with like clear quartz as well. So I'll have to connect more deeply with that. And go ahead.
I think it's beautiful, actually. Jeffrey Yuen, who's taught stone medicine, or brought stone medicine to the West, he talks a lot about clear quartz would be your only stone once you yourself become the healing instrument. Each of these stones has a chemical makeup, and all of those things influence the energetic and the healing capacity and the way that it'll work with us. So, like garnet, very iron rich, that's going to help us feel grounded. It's going to work with our blood. And the Taoist lineage, blood holds memory. So, there's a lot of immediate things that we know this stone works with. Even culturally, it's been like a warrior stone, like men wore it into battle. But clear quartz is like water. It's has a tremendous capacity to hold information, store intentions, hold prayer, but it's a very neutral space. Like it's going to amplify whatever energy it's in contact with. So it's really beautiful. I think it's like a stone of clarity because it really just mirrors us. And so sometimes that can be confronting, but when you're in a space where you feel that you're offering a lot of healing to the world, it's a gorgeous stone to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a good reminder for me to just flow with what is and not resist what's meant for me. Like you were speaking to control, I can be quite controlling of just how I want things to be, a hyper planner, perfectionist. And I think it's just such a beautiful reminder for me to just stay open and really tune into that like feminine flow and that feminine energy. And I love you bring in so many different modalities and so many different methodologies into this unique art that is sacred adornment. And you speak a lot to the energetics of the body. And I know we spoke about this the last time we were with each other because I was about to get married and I was like, my heart feels a little closed right now. And I've been wanting to, open it and like where are the placements that would align outside of just the heart. And we are talking about wearing something, down my back or perhaps on the wedding day. How does the body connect with like the body placements connect to your jewelry? Because I feel like you speak to a lot of the energetics of like the fingers and the like. Tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what's really cool about this is that right off the bat, I want to just say we all have bodies. So, we're all experts, right?
Mm.
Trust your intuition on what feels good on your own body first. But there are all across time and cultures, like such a beautiful amount of information that we can draw on to understand the energy centers. So, of course, we have the chakra system. And so you could go off of that. I think that's a really beautiful place for people to just begin. If you're new to all of this, you can look at yellow stones being for the solar plexus, which were going to help us with boundaries, abundance, taking up our space. So you can move through each color and associate the stones that way. And then there's the Taoist system. So that's going to be looking at the meridians of the body and those specific points that light up that meridian. And then the Vedic uh, outlook, which I love for looking at the hand. And so I think that was what we were talking about is it's these
Fascinating.
beautiful placements. Yeah. So like your pointer finger is your Jupiter finger. So this is going to be an amazing placement for stones that are going to help us in expansion, manifestation. The middle finger is Saturn. And so that's going to be the places in our lives where structure can support us rather than make us feel constrained. Our fourth finger is our sun. So, how we shine in the world, our relationships, how we're seen in the light. Our pinky is Mercury. So, the stories we tell ourselves, how we communicate, all of that can be supported through those placements.
Are you intentionally wearing your rings every day in alignment with these systems?
To some extent, but I will say back to the original essence of we're all in bodies is that my fingers actually shrink and swell a lot based on the season, how hot it is outside, how hard I've been working. So I trust that if my sun ra ring fits best on this finger today, that's where it's meant to be. Some days it's on my pointer finger. It just depends. Like, I actually do have a tattoo on my sun finger on my right hand that's the Nebu symbol, which is the Egyptian symbol for gold. So for me, that's my sun. And I think that gold has such a beautiful relationship to the sun. And so I do work with those energetics, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always great to come back to the point that we have all the wisdom within, and these are our tools and systems, not rules. It's like tuning into your own intuition and figuring out what feels good for you is really the most empowering system of all. So I
Yeah.
love that response.
Totally. And I think it is important, or it was really important to me with stones and metals, particularly to understand some of these ancient lineages, because I think that in the 60s in the West, we just got such an influx of channeled information, which is really beautiful. But there are lineages that go back thousands of years and have a lot of context that is very grounded in earth science and in tradition that I also did really want to learn about, like how have human beings been working with these modalities for healing for so long. But at the end of the day, now with my work, maybe it is like you said about being an actor where you like prepare, you learn your lines, you rehearse, but then when you go on stage, you just have to let it flow and be what it is. And so that's how I approach it with each piece and each client.
Yeah, absolutely.